Hey Wildkids, how you doing? We're somewhere different today. Decided to come to the beach, to the seaside, the Pacific Ocean. And here's Gerald, the Australasian pelican. Gerald's a world record holder. He has the longest beak of any bird in the whole wide world, and he is the largest of all the pelicans. Here he goes. Off he goes. See you, Gerald. Bye, mate. He's camera shy. He's a little bit camera shy. He gets a little bit nervous, which is understandable. When my boat race turns up and they go, "Ah, Gerald, look at Gerald." But look, here we are. Look at the beach. And all these footprints from all the people that have been going for a walk already. And then see if we can see down here and look at the footprints of Gerald the pelican. Let's see if we can find any. Because one of the best things about beaches is you can look at all the different footprints of different creatures, if you're lucky. Now there's lots of different birds here, look. So we've got a currawong here, which is like a black crow. And he's actually picking at some food. I think it's actually a bird that's died, and I think he's actually eating it. So, yum, yum, yum. There's always lots of things to see when you're walking along the beach. So on the ground here, you can see all these footprints come up, because every time the water comes over the sand, it washes away all the footprints. And it's like a completely blank canvas. So you can make your own, or you can find others. Or the other thing that's brilliant about the waves coming in and pushing up the beach is they leave things behind. So down here we've got little bits of seaweed that's been bashed up, and I think this is called either Neptune's necklace or Neptune's beard. I'll have to find out, and we'll have a look at that. And look at this here, look at that. What's that? That's another bit of a plant. That's seaweed as well. And that's the bladders on bladderwrack that keeps the seaweed afloat, rather than being all flat and pushed along. So let's have a look here. So we've got lots and lots of bits of seaweed, because sometimes it gets rough. Oh, we've got a shell here. Look. There's a mussel shell. And when they're bigger, they're absolutely delicious. Leave that back there. What else have we got? Oh, look at these shells. They're gorgeous. Give that one a wash. Now that is somebody's house. Just like a garden snail. There'd have been a fella living in there. And then you look at that beautiful black shell there. Let's give that one a wash too. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at the pattern on that. Didn't get me. No. Beautiful. I'm going to keep those. I'm going to put them in here. This is going to be my little stash box. And we'll have a look at all the things that we find, all these treasures that we find. I'm going to put some of these in as well, and some of this seaweed. All these treasures that we find, and we'll have a look at them further up the beach, so I don't get absolutely soaked. Oh, here's another one. Even bigger. Same family. Look at that swirl. Isn't that beautiful? There's lots and lots of spirals in nature, and they're absolutely gorgeous. Now, there's so much wildlife, not just in the ocean, of course, because you've got fish, you've got whales, sharks, all those things. There's lots of birds as well. So you've got these little seagulls here. You get lots of gulls around here. So these guys have been looking for something to eat, and they've seen me. They're thinking, oh, Trevor from Wildkids is here. I wonder if he's got any sandwiches today. Very optimistic. Oh, you're not very well. That seagull there's got a bad leg. That's a shame. He's got a very poorly leg. He's been caught in a net. I'd say he might have even been caught in a fishing net the way his leg is. That's really sad. But he's okay, because he can fly around, he can still feed. I don't think there's anything around his leg that I can see. He just can't put his leg down properly. And over here, you've got the pelicans, 2 pelicans. And they'll be looking for fish to eat, because pelicans' favourite food is fish. And they're huge. They're about the size of a swan. So let's keep going here and let's have a look over the rocks here. Come on up, Mr. Crow. Yes! Hello, Mr. Crow. Oh, look! We've got some really interesting shells here. Here's a really old shell. Look at that one. So many shells. That's a beauty. Look at that. And there would have been a big, chewy little animal in there. And I'm going to put him in my treasure box as well. And even, you can see shells here. All these guys. These are called limpets. And at this time of the day, when it's low tide, which means the water isn't covering these rocks, they got the great big foot and they stick to the rock and they keep a little bit of water inside their shell to keep them alive. And when the tide comes in and washes over these rocks, they'll move around and we'll be able to, you can see them, but they move very slowly. And you can see their prints here, look. All these little marks here, all these round circles are the prints from limpets. And they've over years and years and years they'd have made these circles. Just holding onto the rock in special places. It's like their favourite spots. Got to be careful walking around on these flat rocks because, like slimy rivers, if it's green, it's mean. It means it's very, very slippery. And also, the reason we've got green seaweed here is because it's actually very close to the surface. So it uses the sun to grow, just like trees. That's why trees are green, and that's why you get green seaweed higher up the shoreline. Some of the seaweed you can eat. Oh, look, we've got a rock pool here. Check out this rock pool. Look, there's loads of I'm sure it's called Neptune's beard. But we've got lots of different coloured seaweeds in here. Let's have a look. So, roll up the sleeves. Let's move this aside. I'm going to be very careful because I don't want to scare any animals if there are any animals in here. And just move it very gently to the side and just have a look. The beauty is this water is not that cold. It's quite lovely. And you've got this beautiful red seaweed here. What else have we got? Is there anything else in there? See if we can find any shells. Oh, here, look at this, guys. Here is a baby starfish. There's several. There's a better one there. Look at the colours on that. Isn't that beautiful? That is an animal. I'm going to flip it over. See? Here we are. Just in there. You can see in the middle, right in the middle, that's its mouth. And then all those little lines, the 5 lines, they are its little legs. And it moves along. You can see them wiggling. You can see them all come out and they're starting to wiggle. There we go. I'm going to put him back exactly where I found him because I don't want to hurt him at all. But we can have a quick look as long as we put them back. Okay, let's have a look here. Oh, look, there's an empty limpet shell here from an ex-limpet. Here, look. There's a limpet. I'll show you the other side. Look. There's on the inside. Now, that's been eaten by a bird or something like that. Or maybe another animal. And it's pecked out the flesh on the inside, but that's its protective, very, very very strong. I can't break that at all. And I'll just put it back exactly where I found it. Okay. Now, as well as gardens, we have their cousins here. Look, we've got snails here as well. Tiny snails. Here we go. There's a little one. Give him a little wash. Look, see, he's got a little door. That stops the water escaping and keeps it moist when it's low tide. So it'll shut that door. You know, see if it's shut. There you go. It's properly shut now. And I'm going to put him back to where I found it. Always put them back where you find them. And there's another beauty there. Oh, that's a beautiful shell. Look at that one. And there'll be someone living in there because I can't move it. If I just tap it, yep, I can't move it. It takes quite a lot of force to lift the snail off, but we're going to leave him alone because that's the right thing to do. Okay, should we keep moving? Okay. Now you've got to be very. My adventure stick is coming in very handy today. Oh, look, there's another bird there as well. You can see the bird with its arms stretched out behind, in front of the pelican. Now that is a cormorant or a shag. And they put their arms out wide to create a shadow so they can see fish. And that's why they have them stretched out, so they can just see if there's any fish below them, and they'll quickly nip in with their very strong beaks and snatch a fish. Now, the tide is starting to come in. But we're not going to cut ourselves off. So we're just going to walk over this way and see if we can spot any fish in the deeper bits. No fish there. Let's have a look. See if there's any shrimps or anything like that. And if I've got a net with me, so we'll be able to catch one if we're lucky. Now let's see how deep the water is and see if I can step across here. Oh, it's too deep for me. Oh, let's have a look here. I've seen something really interesting. Let's have a look. Now, here's another shell. So there's lots and lots of different animals living in the rock pools here. And some of them are a bit bashed up. So look, we've got all these different, look at these beautiful colours and all these different bits of stone. So look, there's a periwinkle. Look at those stripes. Aren't they gorgeous? And what else have we got here? We've got baby limpets, like that little tiny baby one. Unfortunately, that didn't make it. And we've also, look at this shell here. Now this spiky shell is a piece of a shell from a sea urchin. Now all these little lumps on here would actually be big long spikes when it was alive. And it's in a round ball shape. And it moves along using the spikes as legs. Beautiful things. But they certainly hurt you when you stand on them. Okay, oh, here's a really good, interesting rock pool. Let's have a look over here. See if there's anything we can find. See if there's anything. We're trying to find a fish to see if we can see a baby, because lots of rock pools are used by mummy and daddy fish to lay their eggs and have the babies in there, so they're protected from all the other predators around them. And because it's shallow but deep enough for babies, they stay in these little spots to be protected from the all the other predators that are around in the ocean. Okay, let's have a look over here. Lots and lots of life. Even though it looks like just lots of rock, it's not. There's loads of things that are going on. We've got snails here. The Merlin's beard. That's Neptune's beard. I'll get it right one day. That's a good thing. I'm always learning about something. Now, little fishing net, my little rock pool fishing net. I've caught some beauties with this one. Don't be surprised by the size. And whilst I've been looking for fish, there's some babies in here, but they're very, very elusive, and I don't want to scare them too much. But if you look down here in the sand, see all the sand here that gets washed up? This is just off the beach, and it's all made. See all the white bits in it? That is bits of shell where it all just gets ground down by all the big waves and pushing onto the rocks and everything like that. Now, look here. See these little lines on the rock that are exposed? Those are actually the trails of these snails. So all these beautiful patterns you can see here have all been made by these guys here, these two little periwinkles. All these guys here. Now, snails in the garden, gardeners don't like snails because they eat all our lovely plants, but they're very important in gardens, and they're equally as important in the ocean, because what they do is these snails love algae, all the green slimy stuff, and they eat away at that. And it's a really good way to know that this is quite a healthy environment and habitat, because the snails, there's so many snails here eating up all this beautiful algae, and then in turn these guys make food for oyster catchers and other shoreline birds. So it all is working. Nature is working. It's amazing. And also over here we've got grass. Did you know that grass can also grow in the sea? And here's some seagrass here. Now, seagrass is absolutely vital because fish can lay their eggs on it. Other small crustaceans lay their eggs on it. Crustaceans are things like lobsters, crayfish, crabs, things like that. And also, the really green grass is turtles' favourite food. Now, you do get turtles off the coast here, but they're very hard to spot because they're very, very shy. But there's so many beautiful things in it, beautiful colours. I love it. It's almost as colourful as my garden at Casa Wildkids, with all the different reds and pinks and yellows and greens. It's absolutely fantastic, especially with the colours of all the rock here. And we've got a lot of ochre here, which is what the indigenous people of the beaches would use to actually mark their bodies and do painting with as well. Now look at these shells here. Now these are houses, these are shells, these are oysters, and delicious they are too. But there's a little animal in here, and they are packed in really, really tightly so that they can't get eaten or let all of the moisture out. But here, look, you can see the door's been taken off and the animal has been taken on the inside. So there you go. And it's just built up of tiny, tiny layers of calcium. And it goes in layers and layers and layers. Can you see that? But look in there. All those little tiny little stones in there. It's all stuck. It's beautiful. And there's a little tiny little seashell in there. It's a sea snail in there as well. Just in there. Tiny little winkle. Beautiful. How amazing is that? I love it. I love it. Let's have a look. Let's see what else we can find. Oh, oh! Look at this! Look at this! Look at this! This isn't the shell. This. Oh, look at that! Isn't that beautiful? The mother of pearl. That is actually the front door of one of those big shells we found earlier. See that? Look at that! And that's that spiral. Isn't that beautiful? Absolutely amazing. I love that. Very, very special indeed. There's a man over there who's catching fish. Look at all these colours. Aren't they beautiful? Let's see what else we can find. there's so many good, exciting things here, guys. There's so many interesting things to look at. I haven't seen any fish. Well, certainly not been able to catch any fish. But I love looking at all the patterns that the snails make and all the patterns that are made by the action of the waves. It's absolutely beautiful, and all these colours are amazing. So good. Now, here's interesting. Here's another house. Now, all my friends all around the world, my Wildkids Cornwall friends. Hey, Alec. Hey, Abby. How you doing? Hey, Max. I haven't forgotten you, mate. How are ya? Hey, Georgie. Hi. Now, when you guys go to the seaside, you see this guy here is cousin, and they're small and they're a bit rippy and they're a bit sharp. But look at this size. Now, that's a barnacle. Now, all my wild kids in Australia, hey Oscar, how you going? You'll see these, and this is a giant barnacle, and there'll be a little animal that comes out of there, and it's got a great big fan that goes out like that and catches bits of food. And when danger comes along, goes whoop, disappears back inside the hole. And that's really old, because it's even had little baby oysters attach itself to its shell itself. And look at that pink, isn't that glorious? Okay. Now, hey Bella Vista crew, how are you? Hey Castle Hill. All right. There's so many things here to see that I'm absolutely loving it. And hey St Mel's over in Victoria, how you doing this week? Are you guys all right? Lovely to have you aboard, all my Victorian wild kids and all my Queensland wild kids, and my special friends up in Byron, and my special friends on the Sunshine Coast. I've got something special to show you. Have a look at this. Look at that. Wow. Unfortunately, it's not the whole part of the animal. Now this is the back or the tail of a crayfish or a lobster. And one of the birds here who would have been eating that, look, there's his little fins, that's what he swims along on. And look at that, look at that, all those segments, and it's a really hard shell. And it goes along the water like that, swimming along. That's beautiful, look at that, isn't that glorious? Wow. So all these, it can curl up like that to protect itself, because the soft underside is what the lots of animals like these, they get eaten by fish as well as the birds, and especially pelicans. You can see over there the pelicans are looking for food. Now, what we usually see are these are like a bright orange colour, but they only turn orange when they're cooked. So when they're actually in their natural environment and alive, they're actually green and sometimes blue. And that's because obviously around here the colours are quite dark, and the darker they are in all these little rock pools, the easier it is to hide, because they need to be camouflaged, just like animals you'd find on a tree or in the leaves and things like that when you go walking in the woods. So all the same things are happening in this garden, in this bit of environment and nature, as they are on land. It's amazing. Well guys, just come off the rock platform because the tide's coming in, and I don't want to get cut off or go for a swim because the water's a little bit chilly in the middle of winter in Australia. Not too bad, but anyway. So here in my box I found all of the seashore treasures. So the crayfish shell, look at that in its tail, and you can actually, if I show you a little bit better, you can actually see the little legs, and they use those to swim. These little fins, they flick along, which is really beautiful. And look at these, what I found. Look at these crab shells. I didn't find any crabs in the rock pools, but that is the hard shell. I've got 1, 2. Oh, and this one's a little bit broken. 3 different sorts of crab. How about that? Look at the colours. So some of them are a bit more camouflage than others. And then we found a crab pincer, crab claw. Look at the size of the muscles. He would have had really big muscles, this guy. And you can even see the way he would have, the claw would have opened and closed like that to pick at all the bits of food that it would find. And here, look at this. Now that is the shell that would have been the head that would have belonged to this guy. But it's bigger brother, because that is a huge crayfish. That would have been an amazing thing to see and to eat. Now, this is the underneath of the crab. So this give you a bit of an idea. It's a bit small, but that would have been on top. And this is the underneath. So all these little holes here are the sockets for its legs. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's got 8 legs and 2 arms, the crab. So that's where the pincers would have been, in there. And the legs would have been at the back, moving it along. So we've got this whelk shell, absolutely gorgeous. And then we've got this beautiful shell here, look at that. And I always call them cow-eye shells, but it's not a cow-eye shell, it's a cowrie shell. And they're very special. And it's like a mouth, but it's not. The animal would have lived inside there. It's like teeth in it. And then we've got this seaweed here. Now this is very special seaweed, and I thought I'd show you this because look at these little bubbles here, these little lumps, these little round things here. They're not seed pods. They're actually filled with air, and what happens is, because obviously the plant in the water would just be floppy like that, when the tide comes in and covers the whole plant with water, these air bubbles obviously want to travel to get to the surface, so they hold the plant up like that. So all these leaves of the seaweed are actually closer to the surface, closer to the sun, so they can use the sun to create their food, just like leaves on trees. Isn't that amazing? So we've got the barnacle, these beautiful shells here, they're absolutely glorious, and you see all the little rainbow colours in there as well. So all these things are absolutely fantastic. And then, look at this guy. That is a baby sea urchin. Aww, tiny little thing. And remember I showed you that bit of shell with all the spikes, and this is its tiny, tiny, tiny baby. And the animal would have lived inside here. And it would have had spikes, just like the big one we saw would have had spikes. But they've all been washed off because of the action of the waves bashing it around a bit. But that is absolutely beautiful. It's very delicate, so I'm being very gentle with it. And what else did we find? Oh, look at this. It's squidgy. Now you might find one of these in your bath, because this is a sea sponge. It's squidgy. Once it's wet, it goes all squidgy. And that's actually a plant, animal, thing. Weird and wonderful things that live in our oceans. We are so lucky to have so many beautiful and precious things. Okay, right. Well, with the tide coming in, it's time for me to head back home. So what I'm going to do is all of these treasures that I've found, I want to share with everybody. So I'm going to put all of these things back into the ocean. They don't belong in the land, on the land. Beautiful as they are, and as lucky as we are to see them, maybe we can show them, let someone else have a look and see if they can find them. And I always put these things back, so I'm going to put these back into the water. Okay. Oh. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. And you can come and join me on another adventure somewhere else in the beautiful country of Australia. Don't forget, if you want to watch all of my things, you can tune in to my Facebook page. You can ask me any questions you like. Send me in your beautiful pictures still. I love getting your pictures. You can send them to wildkidsaustralia@gmail.com because they are brilliant. I'm really, really stoked. So thank you very much for sending all those in. And anything else, you want to find out about, let me know. Let's put that one in there. Right back there. And I will see you all really, really soon. Take care. Bye-bye.